What if the hardest target in modern warfare is not a missile, a fighter jet, or a nuclear facility, but a mountain that refuses to die? Deep beneath the granite mountains of central Iran, there is a military complex designed around one simple idea: survive the first attack, not win the first battle. Not stop every incoming weapon, survive long enough to strike back. For years, Iran has built what it calls underground missile cities, enormous tunnel networks, hidden beneath layers of rock, protected from satellites, aircraft, and precision weapons. From the outside, they look like mountains. Inside, they are something completely different. Hidden military ecosystem, missile storage, launch preparation areas, transport tunnels, common centers, weapons, network designed to disappear. And that creates a question that sits at the center of modern warfare. If the most advanced air forces on Earth can find almost anything, what happens when the enemy builds something designed specifically not to be found? Because the story of Iran's underground missile cities is not just about bombs hitting tunnels. It is about a much deeper struggle, a battle between visibility and concealment, between precision weapons and hardened survival, between the ability to strike and the ability to endure. And the outcome of that battle could shape how future wars are fought. The first images appeared almost like scenes from a science fiction film. Iranian television cameras moved through massive underground corridors. Bright lights reflected off concrete walls. Vehicles traveled through tunnels beneath mountains. Missiles stood in rows beside transport systems. Iranian commanders walked through the facility, showing the world what Tehran wanted its enemies to see. The message was simple: you can attack us, but you cannot erase us. The missiles displayed in these underground cities were not symbolic weapons. They represented decades of investment into Iran's ability to retaliate. Systems like the Khaibar-Shikan, Ghadar-Sajejal, and Haj Qasim missiles were built around a strategic purpose: make Iran too dangerous to attack. But here's the first contradiction. Iran wanted the world to know these facilities existed. Yet it also wanted the world to believe they could never be destroyed. The facility was both a warning and a mystery, a fortress that revealed itself while hiding its true strength. And that contradiction is exactly why these underground cities became one of the most important targets in the conflict. To understand why Iran built these sites, you have to go back decades. Because this story did not begin with modern stealth aircraft. It began during the Iran-Iraq War. On satellite images today, Iran appears to have a massive missile network protected by geography. But in the 1980s, Iran was facing a completely different reality. Its cities were exposed. Its military infrastructure was vulnerable. And its enemies had the ability to strike targets Iran could not easily defend. The lesson Tehran took from that war was permanent. A visible military force can be destroyed. A hidden military force can survive. The solution was not simply to buy more weapons. It was to change where those weapons existed, move them underground, hide them inside mountains, create multiple entrances, build backup routes, turn a military base into something closer to a city beneath the earth. Because Iran understood something important about air power. Aircraft can destroy targets, but they cannot destroy what they cannot locate. The same idea has appeared throughout military history. North Korea built underground artillery and missile positions inside mountains. Iraq learned after the 1981 Israeli strike on the Osirak nuclear reactor that exposed facilities could become easy targets. Across the world, weaker states facing stronger militaries have often reached the same conclusion. When you cannot match your opponent above ground, change the battlefield below it. The mountain becomes armor. The tunnel becomes camouflage. The distance between the surface and the weapon becomes a shield. But here is the problem. A fortress does not remove vulnerability. It changes where vulnerability lives. The question is no longer, can the enemy destroy the weapon? The question becomes, can the enemy destroy the system that keeps the weapon alive? From above, these underground missile cities are almost invisible. A satellite image may show only empty terrain, a mountain ridge, a road, a few buildings. But beneath that surface can exist an entire military network, storage areas connected by tunnels, maintenance facilities, launch preparation zones, alternative exits. The goal is not to create one impossible to hit bunker. The goal is to create a system where losing one entrance does not mean losing the entire capability. Because the true weapon is not a single missile. The true weapon is the ability to continue operating after being attacked. And that changes everything. When the United States and Israel began targeting Iran's missile infrastructure, they faced a very different kind of battlefield. The visible targets were easier to understand: mobile launchers, missile vehicles, common trucks, radar systems. These were the images the public saw. Thermal footage from aircraft showed launchers hidden beneath bridges, vehicles positioned under tree cover, mobile systems moving through civilian areas. Then suddenly, within seconds, those hidden assets became visible, tracked, targeted, destroyed. The footage sent a powerful message. Iran could hide its missiles, but it could not always hide their movement. And this was where technology changed the equation. Because modern warfare is no longer only about who has the biggest weapon. It is about who can see first. The aircraft hunting these targets were not searching randomly. They were part of a larger intelligence network: satellites, drones, electronic surveillance, targeting systems, aircraft sensors capable of detecting heat signatures and movement patterns. The battlefield had become a giant information contest. A missile launcher may hide under a bridge, but it still needs fuel. It still needs people. It still needs roads. It still needs communication. The part most people miss is that concealment creates another problem. The deeper a military system goes underground, the more connections it needs above ground: electricity, transportation, personnel, supply chains. A hidden fortress still has a footprint. This created the central challenge of the campaign. The United States had the ability to strike. Iran had built the ability to survive. And both sides were testing the limits of their strategy. For Washington and its allies, the objective was not simply destroying individual missiles. It was reducing Iran's ability to launch large coordinated attacks. For Tehran, the objective was not necessarily preventing every strike. It was ensuring enough capability remained afterward to threaten opponents. Two different definitions of success. Two different calculations. And that is where the real conflict begins. Because the most dramatic images from this war show explosions. But the deeper question is not what exploded. The deeper question is what survived. Some missile launchers were found. Some underground entrances were damaged. Some facilities were pressured. But some of the most heavily protected sites continued operating. And that creates the mystery at the center of this entire conflict. If the world's most advanced militaries can penetrate Iran's defenses, why are some of Iran's underground missile cities still standing? The answer reveals something much bigger about modern warfare. The future battlefield may not belong to the side that can destroy the most. It may belong to the side that can continue functioning after destruction. And beneath the mountains of Iran, that battle is already underway. Everyone thinks this battle is about destroying underground missile bases. But the real battle is about something much harder to defeat. Time, because a mountain can be bombed, a tunnel entrance can be sealed, a missile launcher can be hunted. But a military system built around adaptation, concealment, and recovery is fighting a completely different war. The question is no longer whether American and Israeli aircraft can reach Iran's underground missile network. They can. The real question is whether they can reduce that network faster than Iran can rebuild it. And that changes the entire meaning of the war. Because the underground missile city was never designed to be invincible. It was designed to survive long enough to preserve retaliation, long enough to create uncertainty, long enough to force an enemy to spend enormous resources trying to remove a threat that may never completely disappear. That is the hidden logic behind Iran's strategy. The mountain is not the weapon. The uncertainty inside the mountain is the weapon. Deep beneath the surface, the battlefield changes. A normal military base depends on visibility. You know where the aircraft are. You know where the ships are. You know where the command center exists. But underground warfare creates a different problem. The enemy is no longer trying to hide a weapon. The enemy is trying to hide the entire process that creates the weapon. The missile, the factory, the engineers, the transportation network. The command structure, everything, becomes part of a single survival system. And this is where air power faces its most difficult challenge. Because air power is strongest when the target is visible. A runway, a radar station, a ship in open water. But when the target becomes a network buried inside mountains and scattered across hundreds of locations, the battlefield becomes an intelligence problem before it becomes a bombing problem. The first strike is not the hardest. Finding the next target is. This is why the future of this conflict may not be decided by the largest bomb dropped. It may be decided by the smallest piece of information discovered, a satellite image, a communication signal, a supply shipment, a vehicle movement, a change in construction activity, a single truck leaving a tunnel at the wrong moment. Because modern warfare has moved into a strange era. The weapon is no longer just the missile. The weapon is the entire system that allows the missile to survive. And the counter-weapon is no longer just the bomb. It is the ability to understand the battlefield faster than the enemy can change it. Look at the sky above Iran. The aircraft flying overhead represent decades of American technological developments. Stealth bombers, precision-guided weapons, advanced sensors, satellite intelligence. A military machine designed to find and destroy high-value targets anywhere on Earth. But underground warfare creates a contradiction. The more advanced the attacker becomes, the more the defender adapts. Every generation of precision weapons creates a new generation of concealment. Every improvement in surveillance creates new methods of deception. Every successful strike teaches the enemy what must change. This is the endless cycle of military competition. A weapon creates a vulnerability. A vulnerability creates a solution. The solution creates another vulnerability. And the cycle continues. The lesson here goes beyond Iran. Because underground warfare is becoming one of the defining challenges of the 21st century. North Korea has spent decades building underground military facilities. China has invested heavily in protected missile infrastructure. Russia has expanded hardened military positions. Across the world, potential adversaries are watching the same question. Can a powerful air force still eliminate a determined enemy's strategic capability if that capability disappears underground? That question matters because the answer could reshape future warfare. If underground systems can reliably survive large-scale air campaigns, then the balance between offense and defense changes. A country does not need to defeat an opponent completely. It only needs to preserve enough capability to create risk. Enough missiles, enough commandability, enough uncertainty, enough fear. But here is the problem. Survival is not the same as victory. Iran's underground missile network may continue to exist, but every strike changes the calculation. Every destroyed launcher reduces immediate response capability. Every damaged tunnel slows operations. Every lost command center creates confusion. All fortress does not remove vulnerability. 6 dangerous war vulnerability exists, and that distinction is critical. Because the goal of a military campaign is not always total destruction. Sometimes the goal is to reduce an enemy's options until their decisions become more limited. A missile system that survives, but can only launch fewer weapons, takes longer to prepare, and requires more resources to operate is not the same system it was before. The battlefield is not measured only by what remains. It is also measured by what has become harder. Add another layer. The economic battlefield. Because underground missile cities require more than rock, they require money, electricity, materials, engineers, specialized equipment, supply chains. A missile hidden inside a mountain still depends on the world above it. This is the contradiction Iran faces. The deeper the military infrastructure goes, the more hidden it becomes. But the more complex it becomes, the more resources it requires. A tunnel protects a missile, but it also creates a logistical dependency. A missile city may survive a bomb, but can it survive years of economic pressure? That is a different question. This is where energy and geopolitics enter the battlefield. Iran's missile capability is not only a military issue, it is connected to regional influence, oil markets, shipping routes, proxy forces, political leverage. For decades, Tehran's strategy has relied on extending influence beyond its borders while maintaining distance from direct confrontation. Missiles and underground facilities support that strategy because they create deterrence. They tell opponents, you may be stronger, but you cannot act without consequences. That message is the real purpose of the missile network. Not simply destruction, deterrence. But deterrence has a dangerous weakness. It depends on credibility. A weapon only creates power if others believe it can still be used. And that is why every successful strike matters, not because it eliminates every missile, but because it challenges the belief that every missile will survive. The psychological battlefield becomes just as important as the physical one. Can Iran convince opponents that enough capability remains? Can the United States convince Iran that concealment no longer guarantees protection? Can both sides maintain pressure without crossing into a larger war? These are the questions hidden beneath every explosion. The future battlefield may not look like the wars of the past. There may be no single surrender, no single final battle, no moment when one side completely disappears. Instead, modern conflicts may become contests of endurance. Who can replace weapons faster? Who can maintain production longer? Who can gather intelligence better? Who can absorb political pressure? Who can force the other side to spend more resources for smaller gains? The underground missile city represents this new reality. It is not just a place. It is a concept, a military philosophy built around surviving the first blow. And this is why the story of Iran's underground missile network matters far beyond Iran. Because every major military power is studying the same lesson. Precision weapons are becoming more powerful, but survival strategies are becoming more sophisticated. Technology creates advantage, but adaptation creates resilience. The future of warfare may not belong to the side with the strongest weapon. It may belong to the side that can rebuild, adapt, and continue operating after that weapon is used against them. The question is no longer whether a mountain can stop a bomb. The real question is whether a hidden military system can survive in a world where every hiding place is becoming easier to find. Because the next generation of wars may not be decided by who can destroy the enemy's weapons first. They may be decided by who can continue functioning after their weapons are found. So the question for the audience is, do you believe future wars will be won by the side with the most powerful weapons, or by the side with the strongest ability to survive and adapt?